Hello again and welcome back to BATUK Storytime, and my apologies, apparently my first video, chapter 1 of Roald and Matilda, cut out before the end. I'm not quite sure what went wrong there, but we better finish the end of chapter 1 quickly. Great Expectations, Matilda read, by Charles Dickens. I'd love to try it. I must be mad, Mrs. Phelps told herself, but to Matilda she said, Of course you may try it. Over the next few afternoons, Mrs. Phelps could hardly take her eyes from the small girl sitting for hour after hour in the big armchair in the far end of the room with the book on her lap. It was necessary to rest it on the lap because it was too heavy for her to hold up, which meant that she had to sit leaning forward in order to read. And a strange sight it was. This tiny dark-haired person sitting there with her feet nowhere near touching the floor, totally absorbed in the wonderful adventures of Pip and old Miss Havisham and her cobwebbed house, and by the spell of magic that Dickens, the great storyteller, had woven with his words. Just while I read that bit, I'll show you the picture of Matilda sitting in the big armchair. The only movement for the reader was the lifting of the hand every now and then to turn over a page, and Mrs. Phelps always felt sad when the time came for her to cross the floor and say, It's 10 to 5, Matilda. During the first week of Matilda's visits, Mrs. Phelps had said to her, Does your mother walk you down here every day and then take you home? Oh, my mother goes to Aylesbury every afternoon to play bingo, Matilda said. She doesn't know I come here. Oh, but that's surely not right, Mrs. Phelps said. I think you'd better ask her. I'd rather not, Matilda said. She doesn't encourage reading books, nor does my father. But what do they expect you to do every afternoon in an empty house? Oh, just mooch around and watch telly. I see. She doesn't really care what I do, Matilda said, a little sadly. Mrs. Phelps was concerned about the child's safety on the walk through the fairly busy village, High Street, and the crossing the road, but she decided not to interfere. Within a week, Matilda had finished Great Expectations, which in that edition contained 411 pages. I loved it, she said to Mrs. Phelps. Has Mr. Dickens written any others? Oh, a great number, said the astounded Mrs. Phelps. Shall I choose you another? Over the next 6 months, under Mrs. Phelps's watchful and compassionate eye, Matilda read the following books. Nicholas Nickleby by Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy, Gone to Earth by Mary Webb, Kim by Rudyard Kipling, The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, The Good Companions by J.B. Priestley, Brighton Rock by Graham Greene, and Animal Farm by George Orwell. It was a formidable list, and by now Mrs. Phelps was filled with wonder and excitement. But it was probably a good thing that she didn't allow herself to be completely carried away by it all. Almost anyone else witnessing the achievements of this small child would have been tempted to make a great fuss and shout the news all over the village and beyond. But not so Mrs. Phelps. She was someone who minded her own business, and had long since discovered it was seldom worthwhile to interfere with other people's children. Mr. Hemingway says a lot of things I don't understand, Matilda said, especially about men and women. But I loved it all the same. The way he tells it, I feel I'm there on the spot watching it all happen. A fine writer will always make you feel like that, Mrs. Phelps said. And don't worry about the bits you can't understand. Sit back and allow the words to wash around you like music. Oh, I will. Did you know, Mrs. Phelps said, that public libraries like this allow you to borrow books and take them home? Oh, I I do it?" "Of course," Mrs. Phelps said. "When you have chosen the book you want, bring it to me so I can make a note of it, and it's yours for 2 weeks. You can take more than one if you wish." And there we go, just a picture here of Matilda and Mrs. Phelps chatting in the library. From then on, Matilda would visit the library only once a week in order to take out new books and return the old ones. Her own small bedroom now became her reading room, and there she would sit and read most afternoons, often with a mug of hot chocolate beside her. She was not quite tall enough to reach things around the kitchen, but she kept a small box in the outhouse which she brought in and stood on in order to get whatever she wanted. Mostly it was hot chocolate she made, warming the milk in a saucepan on the stove before mixing it. Occasionally she made bovril or Ovaltine. It was pleasant to take a hot drink up to her room and have it beside her as she sat in her silent room reading in the empty house in the afternoons. The books transported her into new worlds and introduced her to amazing people who lived exciting lives. She went on olden day sailing ships with Joseph Conrad. She went to Africa with Ernest Hemingway and to India with Rudyard Kipling. She travelled all over the world while sitting in her little room in an English village. And there you have a picture and the beautiful illustration by Quentin Blake. And that, I'm afraid, takes us to the end of chapter 1. Some of you may be joining us very much straight after this for chapter 2. Sorry again for the delay. See you soon. Keep safe. Bye.